Akademiks.
Yo, let's get the update on this David dude, bro. Did he clap his 13-year-old girlfriend?
The investigation into singer David, 15-year-old Celeste.
God damn. Wait, how old is he? How old is David? How old is she 15? He 20? Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild, gang. Gang, that's wild.
Rivas Hernandez, Hollywood Tow on Mansfield Avenue.
So that's where they found the car.
And reporting from KTLA, the Cybertruck had been there for about 5 days. The medical...
That's not a Cybertruck. Ain't that the little Tesla plaid joint?
Medical examiner's office said that Celeste's body was badly decomposed and appeared to have been in the vehicle for an extended period of time that she went missing in 2024. Wow. They're blessed. This is according to screen captures of messages that were posted in 2023 in chat rooms, namely Discord. Now, Celeste, who had just turned 15 the day before her body was found, was remembered by family as a wonderful daughter, sister, cousin, and friend. Her brother previously told NBC Los Angeles that she disappeared.
Damn, this nigga did it, huh? Y'all think he did it? Yo, hold on. Did I fuck up on the stream for the Academy? Hold on, I gotta start it over again. Fuck. It won't let me. I put the wrong thing on. My whammy done ran away on first thing committed. All right, here we go. Y'all want me to go back to the good camera? I'm back on old reliable still. I just didn't have time to start the new camera. The new camera's right there. But the shitty camera is so easy to use. All right. Okay. Perfect. So let's get into a few things. So the current update on what's going on with this David and Celeste thing is that this guy supposedly was dating this girl since she was 12. He's currently, I believe, we just looked it up. How old is David? He's 20, which means when he was 17, he was dating her when she was 12. That's creepy, okay? A 17-year-old boy having an attraction to a 12-year-old girl is very odd. However, you know, I was watching a Spotify. I streamed early on Kick. I did my steak stuff, and I was watching a Spotify documentary on him. He actually did a Spotify doc, or Spotify did a doc on him like a year ago. By the way, this guy has like 30 million monthly listeners. Spotify, let me see, hold on.
That she disappeared.
Spotify, okay. Now, as I'm watching it, what dawned upon me was that an interesting thing. By the way, he's a guy who he's into anime and fucking Hello Kitty. Take what you want from that. But I will say, you know, he's a modern teenager. You know, internet savvy, knew how to, you know, record music out of his closet using an iPhone and GarageBand or whatever. And apparently he came to the idea that he had to record his own music because he was a Fortniter, and he kept having videos flagged because he was using known music, right? So that's how we got into the music creation thing. However, so I'm kind of watching it. His parents are interviewed for the thing. You're going to see them here. And you see younger pictures from him. You're going to see, that's his mom, right? And, you know, I'm not trying to put her up here because I want nobody harassing his family. But this was a public doc, so it's not like I'm out there. And that's his dad. And, you know, she actually, she has like an accent. She seems like she's from like the Caribbean or maybe some other ethnic country. And I'm watching the doc and I'm like, everything about this guy's lifestyle kind of seems on the up and up. It seems like he should be a regular kid, right? Not dysfunctional household. You know, he's not in severe poverty. He's not giving off severe signs of acting out or just weirdness and oddness. Some of his friends are even in the doc talking about how he was a pretty okay kid. But then they get to a part in the doc, and what they say is that he start getting, like, he lost all his friends from middle school. Now, I don't know what age you are, like, when you leave middle school. Like, you guys could tell me. But his parents took him out of public school and start homeschooling him. Now, it's a theory of mine that after they took him out of public school and start homeschooling him, it got a little weird for him. He wasn't going out to meet people, or he wasn't meeting people primarily around his age because he'd be in his class. And in high school, he was now relegated to just being on the computer and probably meeting people in certain internet corners or forums or Discord. So, look, bingo. That's what happens.
You know, I've always kind of noticed when he would come in, his headphones on, it was just the fact that I think he also kind of felt disconnected.
Nah, don't know. Again, and I'm not here to lay blame on his parents. I don't know why. And by the way, we're not saying he's guilty or whatever, but I'm wondering why the parents chose to homeschool him. There's much more to be understood. I'm also not playing this to create sympathy for him in the event you believe he did these horrific things. But I'm trying to understand. You know, in understanding everything, even when we go back to like the Megan Tory thing, like shit got to make sense a little bit, right? We understand some people are batshit crazy, people just go nuts, but sometimes we could follow the tail of the tape. And I've been trying to have a crash course on this guy's life and figure out when did shit get weird, and this might be the inflection point. He gets taken out of public school and he's now homeschooled. He feels isolated from everybody else in the community who are all going to school together. And he thought he had friends, but after he stopped going to school, none of his friends hit him up. Probably put him in a place where he gravitates towards online stuff, online friends. And, now none of that is still explaining him trying to deal with or date a 12-year-old at that time if he was 17. But it's interesting. It's interesting. And also, I believe you start high school way before 17, right? Like you started maybe like 14, 13, right? Yeah, so really not much is still making sense, but we do realize there is a shift, right? I'm in a place where music was one of the things he leaned into, video games, but also these online communities where I would imagine he probably met Celeste. Okay. Now, chat. We don't like calling ourselves journalists, but sometimes we happen to do a little bit of journalism, And we've actually got an unreleased song from this guy. And I'm wondering if maybe, when I said to you, I said, music has changed so much these days. These days, the artists, for the most part, that their music hit is the ones we believe. And it's kind of always been that. Authenticity is very natural and it's a requirement really for hip hop. It's the reason why I think drill kill gangster rap. Like these guys would make up stories that they were telling sometimes their friend's life or some other homie in the hood, and they were acting like they were them. Oh yeah, I'm spinning, I hit everybody with the switch. Yo, I finessed him, I robbed him for this. You never did any of that, okay? Never did any of that. So you're rapping about somebody else's life. The thing about like when drill music came into play and how social media kind of changed things, people were gravitated towards the people that there was synergy among their actions and their music. For example, K-Flock. He was rapping about don't run, don't trip. And you would literally see him on Instagram Live chasing an op, yelling out, don't run, don't trip. Okay? Realism plays a part. It's kind of why we have a weird attraction to even like the music of YNW Melly. There's something about Melly's music that makes us feel like, we hope for the best. Like, nah, he wouldn't kill his friends. But the music we hear, the lyrics and the content is like, we kind of like, maybe not overtly say, but we're like, this could only come from the mind of a sicko. There's something there. There's no way he's just like, oh, look, whoop-de-doo, what am I thinking about? No. Something there. There's something sick about this guy. That's how you make sometimes the greatest stuff. And sometimes, even when we think about King Von. King Von's music, not only did he have the conviction, you could tell there was something about this motherfucker. A lot of great artists. Their art, I don't know if you guys have watched a movie called The Prestige. Very brilliant movie. I suggest you all watch it. They said that a magician, the best magic tricks don't start on the stage. It's usually a blurring of the lines between real life and what you see on the stage. And such is the case in hip hop. When you see these artists, you know, people like to compare hip hop to acting. They're like, oh, well, Steven Seagal plays a role of a bad guy. Nobody. Well, in hip hop, your music is amplified when people believe the image, right? So sometimes you get these people who actually really live some horrific childhood or circumstances, or maybe they're really killers, or maybe they're really crazy. And their music is amplified because you know it's real. Why did I say all that? The more I look into this David dude, it appears that he was blurring the lines between reality, his reality. And I'm not saying he did anything, but a lot of these things were eerily almost, it wasn't just making it up. He wasn't just having a pen and pad just making it up. It felt like some of this shit was close to maybe not directly, but some experiences he may be familiar with. I think it's the same thing with X. You know, a lot of X's music, X was a troubled person. And if he wasn't that troubled person, I don't think we get the palette of music we do. Because no sane person who didn't go through X, Y, and Z comes up with all of that and makes it that convincing and that heartfelt. It's the same reason why I love A Boogie. But A Boogie can't make a great heartbreak song when he's happy in love to save his life. It's true. It's the reason why artists like Drake use women as muses, because they need that inspiration. I feel like I went on this rant before. Anyway, the point is this. There's an unreleased song that the Mandem got for me. And they said this is a song that kind of gives new light to this whole situation with David. It's unreleased, supposedly. I don't listen to his music that much. But they say there's lyrics in this song that maybe then would mean nothing, but maybe now means everything. This song was tentatively titled New Seats. Listen to this.
I got time to kill, you got time to feel. We got blood to spill, all over the new car seats.
I know that ain't what I just... Hold on. Now this could be pure coincidence. I don't know. This could be pure coincidence. But this song is made in around the moments that reportedly the police have now, they're under the impression that the person who, they haven't named him as the suspect, the person that they believe he was dating, was murdered, and she was supposedly dismembered and stuffed in a car. It's ironic that he has a song that says,
My behind the clouds. I got time to kill.
I got time to kill.
You got time to feel.
You got time to feel.
We got blood to spill.
We got blood to spill.
All over the new car seats.
Huh. All over the new car seats. Let me tell you this. The more I hear about this guy and his music, I feel there's alternate theories. Number one, the most obvious one is that nigga did it, right? Be like, it's like that Gucci line. Be like, yo, are you guilty? Bitch, I might be, right? Like, it's kind of almost like, bruv. But the more I hear about it, if he's not guilty, given, or let's accept certain assumptions to continue this argument. Let's say that girl Celeste was the person he was dating, because there isn't fully even proof that he was dating her, even though a lot of things match up. Celeste was dating a guy named David. People say they saw them together. Like, so there's a lot of things that point to it, but he's never spoken on it, and like we're like still like saying, no, that's her in the picture, and then some people are like, oh, that wasn't, whatever. Let's just go with that. In my opinion, either he did it or he clearly knew about her death. There's so much music. There's so many themes in his artistry that's referencing homicides, that's referencing paying respects, that's referencing we could no longer be together. These are themes after her alleged death that it leads one to say, nigga, either you did it or maybe you knew about something that happened to her and you used it for inspiration to create music, like rappers sometimes use IG models as muses. Now, the second theory, which that's the thing, like, oh, maybe he knew about it, but he didn't do it. It has less credibility. Why? She was found dismembered in a car registered to you. It's not like she was just randomly found somewhere else. She's in your car, and you're supposedly pictured in that location not too far. But let me keep playing a little bit.
Why am I behind?
By the way, I want to give a little context. I don't know if you guys have heard this song. Apparently, this song was circulating industry. So this was something that was going to come out at some point. I think in light of what's happening, everybody in the industry that had this song, that's how I got it, started to feel a bit creeped out, given the fact that his lyrics recorded back then is eerily matching information found now. That's odd. With you, I don't see him as a rapper. I haven't seen him with like tremendous rapping, but he has to be inspired by XXXTentacion. The range in the music, some of the natural, like even like this is punk rock. If you ask me, I feel like he's inspired by X, but I wouldn't know for sure. What? Now, there's another thing too. The themes in his music, there's like this fixation about death. There's like this almost insatiable fixation about death. Now, he's not the only one that's ever had that fixation. I mean, shit in X's music, that was a theme as well. People believe that when it came to XXXTentacion, the power, it was the power of the tongue. In terms of speaking death in the air that may have affected him. It's buffering. Now, there's also a part of me that thinks that, like, maybe he knew about this and, like, you know, in a sick way, he was kind of using it to inspire music. But I don't know. I really don't know. Give me a second. I gotta play this. Where is it? Sorry, chat. You know what's so funny? Actually, this give me a little bit Lil Peep vibes. Kind of. Not really. Lil Peep mixed with X. Not for anything. This kid kind of comes across as really talented. Right? It kind of comes across really talented if you ask me. Anyway, let's see the updates on what this is.
After retired detective and law enforcement instructor, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jesse.
So based on your experience, how do police, by the way, when they're dealing with, and I wonder if this is a big issue in LA, but how do police deal with prioritizing cases when you have a celebrity, a famous person linked in some way to a crime? How do they deal with that?
Well, you know, ideally, there really shouldn't be any distinction based on the fame or wealth of the person implicated in a crime, whether they be the accused or the victim. In reality, there are always pressures that are brought to bear on investigators, be it from within their agency or from the media or the public. And the challenge for the investigator is to remember, as Harry Bosch says, everybody counts or nobody counts.
This is the first Bosch reference we've ever gotten on Sidebar, and you named it. Okay, when you're dealing with a body that's as decomposed as this, how do authorities analyze that evidence? How do they handle that evidence? And the idea that this body was severely decomposed, what does that tell you?
Well, it sounds like from the reporting we've heard so far, and again, I don't know anything about this case other than what's been publicly reported. It sounds like poor Celeste was likely in the front trunk of that vehicle for several weeks before her body was discovered. And there's even been reporting that she was dismembered. That certainly presents a challenge for the medical examiner and for investigators in terms of determining time and cause of death. Also raises some questions in terms of why the killer reportedly chose to dismember this young woman. Sometimes the killer will dismember their victim because if they do that and disperse the remains over some space, and particularly if certain body parts aren't found, it makes it harder to identify the victim. Now, people that kill strangers don't usually need to worry about the victim being identified because there's nothing that connects to them. So the only time the identity of the victim is a problem for the killer is if there's some known relationship.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about him or her being dismembered in his car, but it sat there. Now, there's a theory that, this kind of happened because he had to go on tour, if you want to believe he did it.
Look, I'm going to say this. Way I see it too, how can someone have the ability to do something like this? Who can have the means, the opportunity to do that, right?
Well, we have to kind of keep the Occam's razor principle in mind. I mean, this vehicle was registered to David Burke. It was apparently towed from across the street from a home that he was renting. So the simplest theory would be that this crime happened in or near the vehicle and likely by David or somebody close to him with access to the vehicle. That said, as an investigator, we have to keep in mind until the investigation is complete and all the facts are in that we don't know yet all the facts. We need to think about what we don't yet know. And as an investigator, while you want to trust your intuition and the wisdom of your experience and your common sense, we have to remember that just because you did 100 of these cases and it always turned out this way and the answer was X, in this case, the answer could still be Y. So we have to keep an open mind. But certainly there's a lot of publicly available information that seems to point to the involvement of David Burke in the death of this child.
By the way, what causes decomposition and how quickly does it happen?
Decomposition is a natural process once the person is no longer alive, and it's affected by a lot of factors, including temperature and whether the body is
Okay, great. Mutademics is here. So the latest update is this, because I want to keep dragging it. He canceled his tour, which, by the way, I think some people felt like this guy had to be innocent because when this first started, he kept doing shows. He canceled his tour, and now he has, supposedly through his lawyers, he's working with the police, and I would imagine they would probably want some type of interrogation or something of the sort to try to figure out, or maybe request some type of testing, because I could imagine they're trying to do some forensics on a corpse or whatever. And there's no hint that he's not being cooperative, but we don't know what's going to happen. I think there's so much more to be understood about this situation. I'm very intrigued about what the hell happened. Mostly, I'm actually surprised that it appears that nobody that's really close know anything about this happening, where like somebody just kills somebody and dismember them and put them in a vehicle, and they never told a friend. There's no person that assisted. There's no person that saw something. There's no person that said, yeah, he showed up, he had like blood stains on his shirt, oh, he had a scratch on his face. I don't know. How was the person killed? Was it a gunshot wound? Was it strangulation? So many questions to be asked and answered. We will figure this out at some point. Okay.